Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News on tonight's headlines. Extreme weather is causing widespread devastation across multiple continents with deadly floods, powerful storms, and tornadoes, impacting communities from Australia to Europe and across the United States. We have a roundup of the latest on these severe weather events. And the news starts now. Extreme weather is causing widespread devastation across multiple continents with deadly floods, powerful storms, and tornadoes, impacting communities from Australia to Europe and across the United States. We have a roundup of the latest on these severe weather events. Take a look. In Australia, drone footage on Wednesday showed the severity of flooding over Tinoni, New South Wales. Heavy rain triggered flash flooding, cutting off entire towns in the Hunter and Mid-North Coast regions. Some areas received more than 4 months' worth of rain in just 24 hours. Australia's Bureau of Meteorology warns some areas could see up to 300 millimeters of rain over the next day.
We have seen an enormous amount of rainfall over the Hunter and the Mid-North Coast area.
We have significant amounts of rainfall, 200 to 300 millimetres of rain that we've already experienced in the Hunter and the Mid-North Coast. We're expecting from the Bureau's indications and predictions that there is another 24 to 48 hours of this rainfall, again of a similar amount, approximately 200 millimetres of rain. They'll continue to create localised flash flooding. Any low-lying areas will be seeing flooding as well. And this system is slowly moving to the north. So
across Europe, severe storms have also caused fatalities. Eyewitness footage from Monday showed hail crashing down in France. In southeastern France, floodwaters gushed through streets in Villeurbanne on Tuesday, where one person died after being trapped in a car. In the seaside town of Lille-Vendoux, heavy rainfall also caused significant damage, with one elderly woman confirmed dead and her husband still missing. Storms are expected to continue in southern France throughout the week. Meanwhile, the United States is grappling with its own wave of severe weather. In Lynchburg, Kansas, heavy rain and strong winds rocked trees during a fierce thunderstorm on Monday, knocking out power across a wide area. Electricity suppliers reported restoring power to over 90% of 75,000 affected customers in Kansas and Missouri, though thousands remain without electricity. The National Weather Service is also surveying storm damage in Henry County, Tennessee, to confirm possible tornado activity. And in West Tennessee, powerful winds sent debris flying over a tornado touchdown in Jackson on Tuesday, tearing off a factory roof. No injuries were reported there. Further south, a massive tornado was captured swirling in Athens, Alabama, also on Tuesday. Officials are urging residents to seek shelter, and thankfully no injuries or fatalities have been reported in Alabama as of Tuesday night. Turning now to Southeast Asia, where ASEAN is stepping up efforts to address the ongoing conflict in Myanmar. The region's leaders are set to hold 2 important meetings ahead of next week's summit in Malaysia, focusing solely on the crisis that has displaced millions since the military coup in 2021. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, currently chaired by Malaysia, has long called for an end to the violence in Myanmar. But progress has been slow despite the bloc's 5-point consensus peace plan. ASEAN Secretary General Kao Kim Horn spoke to Reuters about the upcoming talks and what they hope to achieve.
We don't expect a complex, deep-rooted conflict to be resolved overnight. It would be presumptuous for any party to expect a quick fix to this issue. For us, we stay engaged. We work with Myanmar, and it is clear from the ASEAN side we want this to be a Myanmar-led, Myanmar-owned process. We always say that at the end of the day, it's up to the people of Myanmar. It's a continuation from what was done in La PDR. But it is not ad hoc. Basically, it was planned. It will be taking place. And the full consultation, meaning all that's informed, so that they will meet all together. Right. Rather than, it's an open-ended meeting. No, it's not. It's all. So this is something new that will specifically focus on Myanmar, that they will take and no other issue.
The first meeting will bring together the current, previous, and next ASEAN chair nations, Malaysia, Laos, and the Philippines. The second will be a full gathering of ASEAN foreign ministers, focused exclusively on Myanmar. While the talks won't promise immediate solutions, Kao Kim Horn emphasized that any reduction in violence and continued dialogue are important steps forward.
Believe me, those who are directly involved, they are more anxious, I'm quite sure, than anyone else.
I understand.
And how much patience they have, incredibly, because as they negotiate, as long we can de-escalate violence on the ground, that's already a progress.
Right.
As long we continue to have dialogue, and as long we bring down, a large-scale fighting to a smaller one, as long we can bring people to the table, that's progress.
To the U.S. now, a New Jersey Congresswoman is facing assault charges after a confrontation with law enforcement at a Newark immigration detention center earlier this month, a clash that was caught on video and has sparked a political firestorm.
Circle the mayor! Circle the mayor! Circle the mayor! Absolutely!
U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Habba, announced charges Monday against Representative LaMonica McIver, a Democrat from Newark, alleging she assaulted and impeded law enforcement during an unannounced inspection at Delaney Hall Detention Center on May 9th.
Congresswoman, is she right in front of you? Congresswoman,
Get off of us! Get off of us!
get up! No, Congresswoman,
Get off!
The same incident also led to trespassing charges against Newark's mayor, which have now been dropped. Congresswoman McIver denies any wrongdoing, calling the case politically motivated.
Let me be clear. Unelected billionaires like Elon Musk have no place in our government. He is trying to puppet master Trump's decisions about everything.
Supporters in Congress are rallying behind McIver, insisting the charges are baseless.
We've all seen the video. The American people know of LaMonica's innocence. And that is why they recognize this reprehensible political stunt for the farce that it is. To charge this woman with this crime would be laughable if it weren't so sadistic.
Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey also weighed in, defending McIver and her colleagues.
All of this incident was because of an arrest that was an unjust use of power, that was an abuse of power, and that they now have shown their cards they had no right to arrest him in the first place. That's right. So these three congresspeople caught up in that crisis, stood their ground, used their voice, and did their job.
But not everyone in Washington agrees. U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan says lawmakers must respect the law.
So I said from day one, from the day of inauguration, you can hate on ICE all you want, you can protest all you want, sanctuary cities can look the other way while ICE goes arrest public safety threats from their communities, which is really their job, but you can't cross that line. You cannot knowingly harbor and conceal illegal aliens. It's a felony. You can't impede ICE law enforcement officers. It's a felony. You can't commit criminal trespass, and you certainly can't put hands on an officer or employee.
The confrontation also led to heated exchanges on Capitol Hill. Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey pressed Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on the rights of members of Congress to inspect detention facilities.
You can confirm that you understand that members of Congress, by law, are allowed to show up unannounced to conduct oversight visits of ICE detention facilities.
Yes, they can conduct oversight, but Senator, what I would ask is that they understand that that doesn't mean they could show up with a mob with the intention to break in and assault law enforcement officers. That's what happened at Delaney Hall. All of that, and we were accommodating that when those individuals showed up, and they decided instead to break in.
The back and forth continued as Senator Kim pushed for clarification.
You know that they were already on the ICE premise, already facilitating into having the tour when there was the arrest of the mayor. They were not breaking into
They had broken through the outer fence, and they were interior on federal property when
they
the
were
crimes
invited
occurred.
in by ICE as the ICE was preparing to give them a tour.
That doesn't give them an excuse to start punching law
But you
enforcement
understand that they were not
officers.
storming the fence.
Well, I don't understand. Are you making excuses for their behavior that day?
I'm just trying to clarify what exactly
Oversight is an...
President Donald Trump also weighed in, criticizing McIver's actions.
Your DOJ is weaponizing with the arrest of a congresswoman, Democratic congresswoman.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control.
Did you address
those days are over.
Did
The
you
days
tell her
of
to do
woke.
that?
The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
The case against Congresswoman McIver is ongoing, with both legal and political battles expected to continue in the weeks ahead. And now let's head on to South America, where Venezuela is experiencing heightened tensions just days before voters head to the polls. On Monday, Venezuela suddenly cut air travel with its neighbor Colombia. The country's interior ministry announced they're suspending all flights after security forces detained 38 people, including 17 foreign nationals, who authorities claim were plotting to disrupt this Saturday's parliamentary and gubernatorial elections.
When we check flights from Colombia that come from other destinations and enter Venezuela through Colombia. These are flights from Colombia. We have given the instruction to suspend all the flights from Colombia to our country because the information we have is related to this type of movement of people.
Información que tenemos, tiene que ver con este tipo de traslado de gente.
Venezuelan officials say the detained individuals were carrying explosives and allegedly planning to target critical infrastructure, including hospitals, embassies, and police facilities. According to the Interior Minister, this group included not just Venezuelans, but also nationals from Colombia, Mexico, and Ukraine. He described the suspects as a mix of explosives experts, human smugglers, and hired fighters. Meanwhile, President Maduro addressed the situation during a televised meeting.
38 new mercenaries have been detained. The Albanian mafia that governs Ecuador sent some of their trained mercenaries to plant bombs in Venezuela. They have been captured.
Venezuela's aviation authority has confirmed the flight suspension will remain in effect until May 26th at 6 p.m. local time, notably one day after the elections conclude. Colombia's foreign ministry acknowledged they've been informed that flights will resume after voting ends. However, they noted they haven't received any official confirmation about the reported arrest of Colombian citizens. The sudden travel disruption has left many passengers stranded, including this traveler at the airport.
We boarded, and once we were on the plane they made us get off because an announcement came from Venezuela that they were prohibiting, canceling all flights.
They started turning people away, and then we got a WhatsApp message from LATAM that the flight was delayed, and then we got another one that's saying it was cancelled.
This latest development unfolds against a backdrop of ongoing political turmoil following Venezuela's presidential election last July. While electoral authorities declared Maduro the winner, opposition groups and several international governments have challenged the results, pointing to what they describe as substantial evidence of electoral manipulation. In the same televised address, President Maduro connected the alleged plot to criminal organizations he claims are operating from Ecuador and working with Venezuelan opposition forces.
Ya hay 38 nuevos mercenarios detenidos.
38 new mercenaries have been detained. The Albanian mafia that governs Ecuador sent some of their trained mercenaries to plant bombs in Venezuela. They have been captured. As I have denounced, we have the Albanian mafia. We seized 3 phones from them and they are talking. And why is the Albanian mafia from Ecuador sending them? Albanian Colombian drug trafficking and Ecuadorian President Noboa in Ecuador. Why? Because Eric Prince is there, and if Eric Prince is there, the North American Empire is there.
Y si está Eric Prince, está el Imperio Norteamericano.
Political pressure continues to mount as prominent opposition figure Maria Corina Machado calls for voters to skip Saturday's election entirely. Recently, 5 members of her team who had taken shelter in a diplomatic residence for over a year were able to leave Venezuela. While U.S. officials described their departure as a rescue operation, Venezuelan authorities maintain it resulted from negotiations with the Maduro government. Dozens of Machado's associates, including her attorney and campaign staff, remain in custody. Colombian President Gustavo Petro, who re-established diplomatic ties with Venezuela in 2022, has yet to comment publicly on these developments. With both neighboring countries navigating delicate diplomatic waters and election day approaching rapidly, the question now facing the region is clear. What will unfold this Saturday when Venezuelans are scheduled to cast their ballots? Russian President Vladimir Putin has made his first visit to the western Kursk region since Russian forces reclaimed the area last month. The Kremlin says Putin's Tuesday visit included meetings with volunteers, aiding recovery efforts, and a stop at the Kursk 2 nuclear power plant. Now, this trip follows Russia's announcement in late April that it had cleared Ukrainian forces from the region, ending what Moscow described as the largest foreign incursion onto Russian soil since World War II. Now, that cross-border operation began last August, with Ukrainian forces briefly capturing nearly 1,400 square kilometers of territory using drones and Western-supplied weapons. Here's the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin.
The situation in frontier zone remains difficult even after the liberation from enemy. We also talked about it with Alexander Yevseyevich, but you know it better than anybody else. In general, all the Kursk region faced in some ways the problems which are typical for frontier zone. Everybody, including those who lives in Kursk city, faced these problems and hit now a rough patch. Once we agreed that 65,000 rubles that the residents now receive will be paid until the liberation of region from enemy. Now there are no enemy troops in settlements in frontier zone, but at this moment it is impossible for residents to return there until the full mine clearing. So, we will continue to pay this money.
A severe hunger crisis is unfolding in Gaza, with international experts warning of looming famine. While the United Nations has received permission for about 100 more aid trucks, the assistance is under Israeli control, and many families remain desperate for food. Philip Toledo reports.
39-year-old Palestinian father Mahmoud Alao is among those crowding at a soup kitchen in Gaza's Jambalia. Scrambling to get a bowl of soup, it is barely enough to feed one person, much less his entire family. Hao cares for his wife, 4 children, and his brother's 2 children. He waited hours for this soup. It will be their breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I'm 9 years old. I can't. I have a sick daughter. I can't provide her with anything. There is no bread. There is nothing. I'm here since 8 in the morning, just to get one plate for 6 people. While it is not enough for one person, it's basically not enough for one person. 6 people each get 1 spoon or 2 to barely satisfy the hunger we are experiencing. Now, after we get food from the soup kitchen, thank God, you see the number of children I have. This is my niece who is paralyzed, and this is my daughter who has a heart disease, bronchial asthma, and epilepsy. She is not growing up. She is 7 years old and she weighs 11 kilograms. Thank God, as you can see, this is breakfast, lunch and dinner, thank God. After we got food from
The United Nations has received permission from Israel for about 100 more emergency aid trucks to enter Gaza. However, they are under Israeli control. International humanitarian experts warned of looming famine in the Palestinian enclave of 2.3 million people. The growing outcry has pushed Israel to lift an 11-week blockade on aid supplies. According to Gaza health authorities, Israel's ground and air war has devastated coastal territory, displacing nearly all its 2.3 million residents and killing more than 53,000. Israel plans to intensify military operations against Hamas and to control the whole of Gaza. However, Israel denies Gaza is facing a hunger crisis. The blockade, in part, prevents Palestinian militants from diverting and seizing aid supplies. Hamas accuses Israel of using starvation as a military tactic. This campaign began after Hamas-led militants attacked Israeli communities near Gaza's border in October 2023, killing about 1,200 people and seizing 251 hostages, according to Israeli tallies. Philip Toledo for NET25 World News.
Meanwhile, oil prices are up significantly today, driven by escalating tensions in the Middle East. Reports suggest Israel may be preparing a strike on Iranian nuclear facilities, raising fears of a broader conflict that could disrupt global oil supplies. International benchmark Brent crude jumped more than 1% on Wednesday after CNN reported, citing U.S. officials, that Israel has been observed positioning munitions at air bases and conducting what could be a preparatory exercise. While it's unclear if a final decision to strike has been made, traders are concerned. An attack could threaten crude supplies from Iran, OPEC's third largest producer, and potentially lead to Tehran blocking vital tanker routes through the Gulf. Now, this would impact oil from major producers like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. The news comes as U.S. and Iran have been holding talks on Iran's nuclear program. However, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei recently cast doubt on the talks, stating he doesn't believe they will yield any result. Even if a deal were reached, the CNN report suggests an Israeli strike could still be likely if it doesn't include the removal of Iran's uranium stockpile. Despite these fears, signs of stronger U.S. crude supply, with reportedly using stocks last week, helped to limit the overall price surge today. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back. Back to Japan, which opened its biggest ever arms exhibition on Wednesday. Defense Minister General Nakatani says this event highlights the country's growing commitment to overseas defense cooperation and expanding weapons exports, signaling a shift for the traditionally pacifist nation. Take a look. The DSEI Japan exhibition near Tokyo showcased a wide range of military technology, from missiles and warships to cutting-edge research on lasers and electronic magnetic railguns. This year's event is twice the size of the 2023 edition, featuring 471 companies from 33 countries, including 169 Japanese firms, double the number from 2 years ago.
全体のエリアも広くなりましたし、非常に海外も含めてですね、多くのカンパニーの皆様、それから多くの企業、いわゆる軍の関係者、政府の関係者の皆様にご参加いただいていると思います。大変盛況でございますし、我々もこういう機会を通じてですね、幅広い方に技術含めてご認識いただ理解していただけることは大変お喜ばしいことだと思っております。
First of all, I think it's a practical example of changes what we witness globally and which are also affecting Japan and. From the first view, one can easily see it's the DSI this year is twice as big as before. We are glad we have two Estonian companies here. Our dynamically intensifying relations with Ministry of Defense of Japan, with self-defense forces. All these are elements which contribute to our growing interest and practical deal making, let me call it so.
Japan has been gradually moving away from its post-World War II pacifist stance. Since lifting its military export ban in 2014, the country is now actively pursuing global defense collaborations, encouraged by the US and European allies eager to share development costs and tap into Japan's advanced industrial base. At the event, U.S. Ambassador to Japan, George Glass, highlighted the importance of strengthening alliances through joint development and sustainment efforts.
The stakes couldn't be higher. Our economies and the values we have defended for so often in the past are truly on the line. And that's why the United States is committed to securing peace through strength. As the President has articulated on many occasions, and as the Secretary of Defense reiterated during his visit earlier here in Japan in March, that strength comes from expanding and elevating the alliance's capabilities and capacity, which means leveraging our respective skills and our specialties in co-development, co-production, and co-sustainment.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you all for joining us. Good night.